Walker blessed us with his presence and knowledge.
We want to welcome in our next special guest, ALCS. She's a three-time world champion in women's ice hockey and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Cap fan. I always have been. And to be there at that game with my teammates, for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me. And just the support and has been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you can feel that there at that game.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on TRU Radio Network.
What's going on, people? CP3, live from the lab, Sports on the Hill podcast, TRU Radio Network. And if you're watching the live feed, you can see I'm having some technical difficulties right now. The Zoom feed is off a little bit. We realized this a little bit before the show. Now, it's back good. Okay, Robbie's back in the bottom box. Welcome back for another episode 199 of Sports on the Hill podcast. It's crazy. Next week will be our 200th episode, and we'll be having another great show as always. But tonight, with it being only two sports really covering right now, we pushed the show back to 8 o'clock. We already got Dujanay probably on the line. You're ready to break down the Washington football team loss from yesterday to the New York Football Giants. If you didn't check out the post game, go check it out. I've shared it on our Sports OTHP page and on my page. Go check it out. And we're going to talk ALCS, NLCS results, even though we know the World Series is starting tonight. We're still going to talk about it because it's relevant. That's just what we do. It's been a rough start to the week for us football fans, and it was a rough day for me also. Robbie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Sorry, I was just trying to mute everybody in the behind the scenes. You're coming in a little staticky. I don't know if they make a little adjustment on something, but
All right.
No, I'm doing well. We've got a busy show to talk about, lots of different things, and that's much better. Whatever you just been doing.
No, I had to tighten up the mic a little bit.
Yeah, maybe even a little bit more. No, things are going, pretty well. I got some news and notes to start the show. We've got a lot of football stuff to talk about, so I won't, belabor it too much. We've got a bunch of different panelists that'll be coming in throughout the Washington football talk segment, and then we're going to bring in Arun and Brian for some baseball at the end of the show. So it'll be a little bit of a shorter show than the last couple of weeks, which has been like 2 to 2.5 hours. Probably clock in around an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on how long baseball talk goes. But yeah, it's been an exciting week. I got a couple of news and notes I want to get through first, and then we can rock and roll with some football talk. The first thing, which is one of the sort of the biggest stories that is going on right now, is the numbers have come in for the NBA and their profits. I was curious because there was a lot of talk about how they lost a lot of viewership, and it's one of the lowest viewer things. Ted Leonsis actually came out with an article yesterday, or a post on his social media saying, look, the numbers look bad on that, but they're not really doing a good job of truly tallying how many people are having their eyeballs on this. A lot of people are streaming things now, and international numbers are up, as Carol has talked about in the past. And but the numbers of how much money did they lose versus how much they would have lost if they didn't have it, right? So that's what came out today. So they came out that $1.5 billion they were able to not lose by resuming. So if they didn't resume it, they owed $1.5 billion in sponsorships and deals and all that sort of stuff. So it ended up costing them about $180 million to put it on. So it's not cheap. But if you talk about saving $1.5 billion by spending $200 million, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, that's a pretty easy call right there. So I thought that was a
That's a
interesting
big
thing.
number, man. That's a
Yeah.
real big number.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. I doubt we'll ever see the hockey numbers, but it would have been interesting to see what those numbers, what they would have lost versus not. One other note about hockey: Doc Emmerich retired today. He's a big play-by-play. Always did the lead announcing on the Stanley Cup and all other major NBC events and a lot of Olympics. And I thought I saw somewhere that he'd done over 3,000 sporting, hockey games that he, done play-by-play for, which is a crazy number. And congratulations to him. I know some people really love him and were very sad. Some people were very happy to see him go. I know that Brian Brennan has always liked him. I know other people have as well. I know that some people think he's biased. I don't necessarily think he's biased, but who knows? But I just wanted to point that one out as well.
He was. I'm not gonna say he was biased. I love the way he called the game. I can't really say he was biased. You could tell that he favored certain teams, but he wasn't too over the top with it. But I love the way he would call the game because he would get so excited and make you get excited, even if it's your team or not.
Yeah, Carol, can you turn your mic down just a little bit? See if that helps.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why I'm getting this feedback all of a sudden. Everything was working fine before the show. Got a little gremlin in here or something.
Yeah, now it sounds like we're making music, so we got like a wall. All right, well, anyway, we're trying to figure that. That does sound a little bit better. So, anyway, sorry about some of the technical difficulties early on. But anyway, those were the major things. Other quick note was Van Riemsdyk, who we had just signed. I was curious why he signed with us over a bunch of other teams. He said that Justin Williams talked so highly of the Capitals was a big reason why he joined the team. So I just saw that article come across a few minutes ago. So I thought that was kind of cool that Justin, even though that he's left and went to the Carolina and kind of was a bit of a rival of ours at the end of his career, it was nice to hear that him speak so highly of his time with Washington and encouraging fellow Carolina players to play for us. So I thought that was kind of cool as well. But anyway, those are a couple news and notes I wanted to get together. My quick thought on the Washington football team, and then we'll bring Dugenais in, is I was okay for us going for two. I think you need to take some risks in this game of football. I don't, especially on the road. I don't love the play call that they did. I think that they could have designed something a little bit better than that. But overall, I thought I saw some improvement with the team. And I know that it doesn't happen on the scoreboard. And I know that fumble and I know that interception cost us. And I know people are like, oh, he's not as good. Haskins and him are about equal or whatever. And I know there's talk of QBR ratings. I don't know how much stock different people put into that. But I know that he has a higher QBR rating than any of the Haskins ones. But overall, I thought the team played better under him. If he kind of gets some of those turnovers right, I think it's a better result. I'm not blown. I mean, at the time, I was obviously upset when we didn't make the 2-point conversion. As a fan, that's understandable. But overall, I think that the football team played a decent game, and there's still a lot of growing that has to happen in this new system. And I just continue to caution our fan base to have some patience. I know it's really hard. I know you want to fire everybody, and I know that at this point you either want to see Alex Smith or Dwayne Haskins back. But I still would love to give at least one more game and see what happens with our current quarterback situation. But those are a couple of my thoughts. But overall, I wasn't so upset, and I'll give one quick shout out because I know Tim won't be on the show. But I got to watch the Ravens with Tim, and that was a crazy ending of a football game. Another chance of a 2-point conversion at the end of a game, but I was happy that Baltimore was able to at least come away with the victory. But with that, I will invite Dugenais to come back in, and we can start off with a conversation, and then in a moment we can bring in some other guests as well.
No doubt. What's going on, Dugenais? How you doing tonight, bro?
Doing good, man. I'm doing good. How about you?
It's been a crazy start to the week, man, and it started with yesterday's game. But going to keep pushing forward. We're going to keep doing what we do because we don't have no choice, for real. We didn't. Normally I would have talked to you after the game, but I had another show after I did the post game, so I have no idea what your thoughts are. So I'm very anxious to hear your breakdown. I'm gonna give mine because I don't know if you checked out my post game last night, but I'm anxious to hear what you have to say, especially after some of the thoughts you put out there last week. That was very interesting. One of the best Washington football team talks we've had in a while. But I'm going to piggyback on some of what Robbie said, that I did see progress with the offense. I did see some better play calls to get some type of flow. I didn't see enough running. We did see McClissick making some plays in the short passing game. You saw Gibson, making a couple of plays, but they weren't consistent enough in the run game, I feel, still with Scott Turner. He still has some Jay Gruden in him or something. I don't know. But I was actually more upset at the defense and our run defense. I don't understand why the linebackers aren't staying gap disciplined and staying in their assignments. I know they're trying to make plays and make things happen, which I get, but in Jack Del Rio's system, you can't do that because it's all about gap assignment, being where you're supposed to be, and filling the holes and filling the gaps so everybody else can do their job the way they're supposed to. And we've seen this week in and week out, and they haven't seen improve. The pass defense has been, above average, which everyone was questioning about, but the front seven hasn't been doing their job on the defensive side. And when it comes to the pressure also, we've had 2 games back-to-back where they've had a total of 3 sacks. We got a taste of the 8 sacks in week 1, but we haven't seen anything near that performance since then. Granted, they've been playing from behind a lot. Teams been running the ball and are able to dig deeper in their playbook and make it harder for them to rush the passer. But we need to see that domination from the beginning of the game, just like we need to see it from the offense, which has been, one of the issues with this team for a while, not just this season. But with the 2-point conversion, I had no problem with it. I understand him going for the win. He's done it before. There was no surprising. I mean, after they scored a touchdown and I saw him put 2 fingers up, I was like, nah, he didn't put 2 fingers up. He didn't put 2-point conversion. And then I saw the offense stay on, and I said, yeah, he put 2 fingers up. They're going for the 2-point conversion for the win. And I was already thinking, like, if they don't get it, the fan base is going to go crazy. And as soon as and then, like Robbie said, the play call, I definitely didn't agree with. But I don't know if you saw, I'm going to ask you after I finish, did you see the running back coming across the middle when the linebacker pushed him down? That's where Allen was running back to the middle of the pocket to hit him. But they didn't call it. I don't know if you saw that. I went back and looked at it. I saw it. And I feel like that's what his mindset, that he was going to try to cut back in, throw it to the running back, get the 2 points, and everything be all good. But he got trapped outside with Peppers, and we saw what happened. But I'm anxious to hear your take, Dujanay. What did you take away from this game, and what did you think about the 2-point conversion and Kyle Allen's performance yesterday?
I thought on the defense, and it's pretty much the same. I mean, they have shown that they can dominate, but they also shown that they have mental lapses. It's interesting. It's guys that are just simply over pursuing and trying to do too much. I think that's really what it boils down to. You have to stay, gap responsible, and when they do that, you see they bottle guys up. There's not very many running lanes, and guys are dancing around, and someone is there to make a tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some inconsistencies on the back end too. The Shazer Everett with another penalty as well that was costly. But overall, I think it's a combination of things. I think you notice when the offense is going pretty well and they're not having to be out there repeatedly, I think you see them have more success. I think when they have to go out there and have to dominate to steal a game or win a game, they don't have that ability to do that yet. I don't know. I don't think it's really anything that Jack is doing. I think there are some guys here that are from previous, regime, and they're trying to get in the mix, and maybe they don't necessarily fit with what Jack's trying to do. But they're able to see everything. I think the scheme as well. It puts guys in position to be able to see and pay attention and read and react. And a lot of times those guys aren't necessarily, they're reading, but then they're reading sometimes, but sometimes they're seeing like the wrong things. Offensively, it's much of the same. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about mechanics being a problem for the quarterback. and it is. I mean, you know, I thought he played quite well. I mean, but we've seen this in Carolina. So, I mean, you talk. I don't know what fans are expecting. He's not a starting quarterback. I mean, I give him a career backup at best. A guy who can come in and win you games, and he did a good job of doing those things, of managing the football game. He made some good throws. I love his decision making, the way he goes through progressions. You can tell he has a clear understanding of the offense. He's been in this offense for now his third year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just, isn't it a surprise? But you can see there are some situations, just like with the other quarterback who was young. He suffers mechanic-wise. That's why you see balls go in the dirt. That's why you see balls go low. And sometimes he has a guy wide open. And, you know, you ever have that little thing where you kind of feeling good? You're out there, you're playing sandlot football, you feeling good throwing the ball. So you think you're going to Brett Favre it and wing it in between two guys, and that joker goes like a duck into the ground. That's basically what he looks like. I mean, it's a mechanic suffering thing. It's not necessarily he's a poor thrower. It's just in that moment, he's a little lax in his footwork and how he's trying to, you know, be cutesy and maybe get a little flea flicker type throw, you know, looking kind of Patty Melt Mahomes with the throw, and it just goes into the ground. And he even admitted to the fact that, you know, he's made some mistakes. So, you know, it's funny to sit here and talk about these things, but it is what it is. And, you know, I'm not going to take anything away from the kid. I like the way he balls. He goes and goes after it, makes some plays with his legs when he, you know, he has to. At least tries anyway. Didn't have a problem with the 2-point conversion. I knew people were going to have a problem with it as soon as the offense stayed out there. You know, again, I'm sorry, but this fan base is just starting to look for anything to complain about. They wanted, so whatever, just continue to waller and whatever you're going to waller in. It is what it is. It's called rebuild, people, but okay. But I don't have a problem with that call. Ron was showing confidence in his guys. He showed confidence several times on the fourth down calls. I think that's a good thing. It's a team building thing. I thought the play call was probably something that I wouldn't have gone to, because I thought that throughout the game, the Giants did an excellent job of snuffing out those type of plays. And in such a confined space, it needed to go perfectly for that to be done well. And I thought that Allen had the line to get to the end zone. Would he have made it? Who knows, right? Mm-hmm. But it looked, from our vantage point and from the vantage point of the coach's film, that he had an opportunity to get in. He decided to second guess that, but I also would go with what Carroll said. There was another outlet. That's the thing. That's the thing that I think a lot of people like better when it comes to him as the quarterback, is that he knew where to go with what the next read was.
He hits his check downs.
Yeah, it was closed. He looked for the next read. It was closed. But it was closed because his man was laying on it. So he had no choice. And then by the time he thought about making the next move, they had already sealed him off. There was no way he was getting to the end zone. So he had to do something with the ball. It was a gutsy call. It's team building, and I thought that there was a lot of positive things you could take away from the game. The offensive line was more consistent. There were just a lot of things you could take away that you saw improvement. But as far as the quarterback position, I still stand the same way. Why are we sitting here talking about mechanics with a third-year quarterback when you got a first-round quarterback that you need to allow play so that you can find out at the end of the year if you need to go draft another one? But hey, I'm just a reporter, not a coach.
Well,
real quickly, I have a quick question for you today. So with everything you saw today, yesterday, who do you play against the Cowboys? Do you go with the quarterback that's gotten warmed up and had a couple of games in his system? Do you go back to Dwayne Haskins now that maybe, quote-unquote, the division a little further out of reach than it was 2 weeks ago? Do you go with Alex Smith to see what he's got? You know, if he's just got some of that luck and some of the, you know, why not try something crazy and new? Because a lot of fans seem to want to see what he can do. I know that you're not the coach, but in this sort of circumstance, what would you do?
I would have left Dwayne out there because he needs to work. You know, again, I'm 100% heck bent on the fact that it is up to coaches to coach up a guy. We know what we're dealing with here and what everyone was up against. Every team in this league was up against without having any kind of preseason, the way they had to get these guys up to speed. this team is probably the worst team in the fact that they had so much turnover and then had to go play a game with 2 weeks of training camp and no preseason games. So you stick with this guy because at the end of the day, this organization spent the first round pick on him. You have to figure out whether he's your guy or not and whether he can get it done. But you have to put him in position to do well. I mean, he's the only guy who's won a game with this football team. Let's be real here. We were all praising him about the leadership that he showed in his locker room, and now all of a sudden the guy can't hit a broadside of a barn. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's up to the coaches. And I've always said, if you got 50 plays and a guy can only do 25, I guess you better run them 25 plays then, huh? Because, I mean, it's going to be about the pass, right? Get him up to speed, but you got to see. And that whole talk about the division stuff, look, man, I told y'all they couldn't beat the Giants, and they didn't beat the Giants. They ain't beating anybody else. You think they beating Dallas next week, even with that trash dump defense they got that they're going to put on display tonight? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the way I would have gone. Again, Kyle Allen is not the answer. He is a solid backup, period.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that most of the numbers would say that he is a backup quarterback, and he's not necessarily a starter in this league.
I mean, Ron came out and said that it's basically Haskins is going to get back in. He just wanted to, he did it at 4 games for him. He might give Allen 4 games if he sees progress in the offensive seed, but he said last week that, Dwayne getting back in there quarterback isn't a far-off possibility in this season with the way things are going. So I think that he's going to let him back out there because the main reason they say they were taking him out for him to see it from a different perspective with somebody else running the offense that was more comfortable. So maybe it'll click for him. And from what I've been hearing from the practices, that he's been looking, better. So
is his stomach bug? Because it turns out I think he actually may have had a stomach bug. I'm happy that we didn't try to jump on that bandwagon. So, Carol, I'll ask you real quickly, who do you think for next week against the Cowboys? Who do you throw in?
I stick with Allen for another week just to see what happens with Scott Turner and if they could build off of some of what we saw this week. Because we saw progress. You don't want to stunt progress if you have, something starting to build some momentum. That's why, like I said in the postgame, I understood why he went for the 2-point conversion, because you just had a young quarterback fumble the ball, give the opposing team the lead, but then was able to get back on the field with 3 minutes left, run the team all the way down there to get the score that could either tie the game or win the game. And then if they would have won, that's what a coach does. He builds off of it. He builds the confidence that they have and say, wow, we did that. Nobody would have counted us to do that, and we did it. So if we did it this time, we can do it again. And that's what they build off of. So it's all a combination of all of it together. So I love the fact that he went for the 2. So I say hopefully Scott Turner can tweak the playbook or tweak his play calling rather. And, those 3rd and 2s and shotguns, I'm sitting there like, come on, man. Come on. Your dad was an NFC East offensive coordinator for the Cowboys in their heyday. That was Emmett, 3rd and 2, that was Emmett up the middle. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't no fancy trickeration and all this other stuff. It was Daryl Johnston, Emmitt Smith, hand the ball off, get the 2 yards or more than that. But
I'm not sure they back to be able to do it consistently, though.
That's the thing. When you have all these other moving parts that he's trying to interject in there, they can't get consistency in doing one thing well because they're doing a whole bunch of other stuff, trying to mix it up or whatever instead of being consistent. We saw that with the Giants yesterday. Daniel Jones only threw the ball, 19 times. They ran the ball. They went what was working. And when I went over it yesterday, if you look at the stats, it would look like the Washington football team would have won. They had a 7-minute difference in time of possession. More plays, but the Giants were effective because they went what was working. They weren't trying to be fancy. Oh, Mr. Clapper on the sideline over there had a decent game plan yesterday. And Jason Garrett beat this team once again. Daniel Jones beat this team once again. I don't know what it is with these young quarterbacks this team has a problem with, and I don't know what I have a problem with the Clapper. His plays are kind of Jay Gruden-esque. He gets predictable.
Well, he
So
doesn't have the flashy numbers. I think that's where he kind of, people want the flashy offense in today's world, right? I mean, that's what all the highlight reels are. I mean, the Giants are never going to get on the top of Sports Center with the plays that he's running. That's fine. I mean, that's what they're building. And I guess I have one more question for Dujane, and I know that we've got other guests on the line, so I'm actually going to drop off and let you guys have a round table. But my last question, each of you guys, is you talk about the running back situation, which, I like some of the young guys that we've gotten. I like that we've given them a little bit more time, in the system. There's all this talk about we should have kept Adrian Peterson. You know what you had in him. I made the argument early on in the offseason that he takes so many snaps and he takes a lot to get going. So it would take something away from a lot of, a young person trying to get some of those extra snaps that you got to get. Dujane, what are some of your thoughts? Do you think they should have kept the veteran in there, or do you think this is the right thing to try to show growth in the future?
I like Bryce Love, and Bryce Love isn't there, and I think he's the guy that has the ability to be strong between the tackles. The thing that I'm seeing from Antonio Gibson's Memphis tape, even watching him at the Senior Bowl and what they're trying to do with him here in Washington, though, when he does the things when they do the things that he did well in Memphis, you see him hit and knock off big games. In between the tackles is not there for him yet. It's a little bit of him knowing when to hit that hole, how to hit it, and it's the fact that if that was Dallas's offensive line up front, and when it's very consistent and they're able to run the ball, he's likely to be able to break that off. He's not going to generate that particular hole by himself yet. He doesn't understand how to do that just yet. It doesn't mean that he's not capable, just not right now. And that's where I think if you had a Bryce Love and since you don't, that's where Adrian Peterson comes in. Because now you wear those guys on the inside out with AP. He's still, Gibson's going to still get his touches. McKissick's going to still get his touches. And McKissick can be that guy. He's just, be real. He's very versatile and can do a lot of things, but you can see why he's not an every down back and why he hasn't stayed that every down back where he's been. He's not able to consistently run between the tackles and wear guys down. That's partly on his side. And they don't have that back right now. So sure, it would have been nice to keep an AP in the backfield for that reason. But this is the direction you decided to go, and I don't think it's a bad direction because you put a lot of young talent out there. We see what J.D. McKissick is doing. We see what Peyton Barber is doing as well as he gets some opportunities. So it's not awful, but now you have to figure out how are you going to generate those types of runs in the middle of the field and help out your running backs. And that's something that as this whole unit starts to learn each other, and Scott Turner starts to learn his players a little bit more, especially hopefully they can have some consistency along the offensive line where they're not moving pieces around. Then you can start to see what your offensive line can do, and then you can play off of that. And I think that's where we're at right now with the run game and the running back. It wasn't a bad decision, but when you look at it right now with the way things are, how young these guys are, your offensive line, one guy who can trump that whole thing, and that's a guy like AP who wear guys down. And then your guys like JD and Gibson can come in and knock off and do the things they do well. As they learn, they can have some success.
Real quickly, two more things while I'm jumping out of here. How has AP been doing this year? I have not followed him.
I have on my fantasy football team. Last week, he had a decent game because he had a touchdown, but he's only getting between 10 and 14 carries a game. I think he had like 40 yards yesterday. No touchdowns because they're not using him, like you said, as a workhorse back, and he wasn't going to get that here either. Because
he's not good unless he has those extra touches.
Yeah, I get that.
The game goes on.
I get that, but then when you have a stable of running backs, you got a Peyton Barber, you got McKissick, you got Gibson that you're trying to get him to learn how to be an NFL running back with his conversion from wide receiver. And like Dujane was saying, he doesn't know how to press the hole. He doesn't know how to, make certain moves and take certain angles to suck him in and then bounce off of that. He's looking to bounce it out, outside without setting up his play to do that, and the defenders are ready. So he still has, things to learn to be an NFL running back. And, Bryce Love, he wasn't inactive, but we haven't. I haven't seen anything. You know, I don't watch college. I watch the highlight tapes and saw what the tape looked like. But I'm anxious to see what this kid can do if he's healthy to get on the field. I've heard so many great things about him. I just want to see what he's going to bring to this team that could be that spark that could help, you know, get it going. What is the status of Bryce Love, Nate?
I thought he was injured. He wasn't. Didn't see him any actors on any, especially in the fantasy world. I didn't see him active.
Yeah, I got to look into that. Because I was thinking, I went over the inactives list yesterday and I didn't see his name on there. Granted, I don't think I've seen it. I think they might have put him back on the IR.
Yeah,
I got to check
Washington
and see.
places Bryce Love on injury, but his injury is not a season-ending one, and that was in October 2nd. It says it's a temporary stint, but it didn't kind of needed on a post-practice Zoom that running back's injury shouldn't be season-ending. So I think it's about the knee, which is unfortunate. So.
That's
He
the
saw that
same.
for 3 weeks, and that was it back on October 2nd. So maybe he comes back this week.
Yeah, you got to be at least 3 weeks on the IR before you can get back active. So maybe we'll see him. Hopefully he's healthy because, like I said, I'm anxious to see what he can do because I have no idea, but I hear so many great things. And the play calling, I think, plays a key into it. They have to get more consistent. We saw more of a flow yesterday. We saw them mixing it up, you know, throwing the ball out to the running back out the flat, you know, stretching it a little bit with Logan Thomas, and Terry. You know, he didn't have a big game, but he had some, you know, nice plays that helped move the chains. And then Inman, he had about 4 or 5 crucial third down conversion catches that, you know, for a guy that I really didn't know anything about, he's come up with some clutch catches when he's been in there. Unfortunately, it hasn't translated to victories, but it's like you said, I wouldn't, you know, stop the progress to see what we saw from this week. You know, I would say at least give it another week to see if they can build off of what they had last game, even though it was a loss. The offense moved better. They were over 108 yards, which they had the week before. I mean, I don't even care about Kyle Allen's stance. Yeah, he had a good stat line, but it didn't translate to a win. He had that crucial interception and that crucial fumble. And I don't know what he was doing on that interception because McLaurin had like 4 people around him. I don't know what he was thinking on that joint. But like I said, my bigger concern, talk about the defense so we can get ready to bring in the other folks. I know DC People's Champ had some things he wanted to get off his chest. I know we got Brian with the New York point of view, you know, even though his Yankees are not doing anything, at least he can celebrate a Giants victory. You had to take that jab, Brian. Had to take that jab. But the defensive front is more concerning because they aren't getting the run defense that we all were expecting. I mean, Deron Payne had a great game. Jonathan Allen has been a great season so far, but they haven't been able to put it together as a unit. Do you think that's more with Matt Ioannidis not being out there?
I think so. I think, and I've been on Matt Ioannidis' bandwagon from the jump, and it's showing that he's missed there. But I don't think I think they have guys that can get it done. You know what I mean? That's the thing, and the keyword is consistency. They just haven't consistently been able to put it all together in that front seven. And you know, whether it's guys trying to over-pursue or they think they know something and what they see is not actually what they see. We saw some guys make some poor tackles and get okey-doke in the middle of the field, you know, missing open field tackles. You know, and your job is to force, at least if you can't get the guy to keep your ground so you can force him back somewhere where someone can make a tackle because guys are there. The guys are getting okey-doked in the middle of the field and, you know, it's in enough time to where their help isn't able to get there. So, yeah, I think he's a part of it, but I still think they have guys and horses that can get it done. It's just a matter of being consistent and not, you know, trying to be the hero, but play within the confines of the defense. When they do that, everybody eats.
True. I'm just not liking the lack of run defense. I mean, the pass defense is in the top 15, but the run defense is almost, I think it was 24th, 25th, if not lower when I did the
It's
stats.
surprising because everyone thought it was going to be the other way around, right? We thought that the run defense was probably going to be the weakness and the pass defense wasn't. So, but, you know.
I mean, I know it's a combination. Like I mentioned, you know, the defense has been on the field a lot because of the 3 and outs. The injury to Ianitis, that definitely, I feel, has an impact on it. And the fact that teams have had sometimes a 17 to 20 point lead on them, and they're able to do whatever they want in their playbook, where they're not able to force the action. They're doing play action. They're doing all different types of things because they can go through their whole playbook because they have such a point cushion that they don't have nothing to worry about, and the defense really couldn't key on anything.
You know, those turnovers kill you, especially ones that, you know, you scoop for 6. You know, that's going to be, that's not even on the defense, but it's, it's a touchdown that they've got to somehow make up.
Yeah, but then you saw after that 14-play drive when they got the field goal to tie the game and they got the 3 and out, that defense was vicious because they actually had time to rest for a change and go out there and do what they can do. So they did impose their will in the fourth quarter. That's another thing that I did like seeing. Unfortunately, it couldn't translate into a win. What were you going to say, Janae?
Then think about Jack Del Rio's defense. They like to be aggressive in the front seven. They like to get up the field and like to kind of collapse in on the quarterback, flush him down into where he knows that those guys are going to be, whether it's linebackers or your inside defensive guys. So when but it's not a reckless aggression. It is a controlled aggression. Those things, you can be aggressive, but when you get reckless, that means so a lot of times you get caught out of position, and you have tendencies of being caught out of position, and they have to learn that. You can see when they get aggressive and they're contained and everybody's there, it looks like a swarm. It's a meeting at the quarterback. Because what ends up happening, that guy ends up having to step up. There you are. Pain. Everybody's on top of that. Everybody's there. Because they just flushed him back in and collapsed the pocket almost like a deflating balloon. But you get too aggressive on the end. You get too aggressive in the middle. You get over-aggressive. Guy steps right up in the pocket. Boom. He's either going to break it for 10 or he's going to have time to find this guy underneath for another big play. Because it just, linebackers get over-aggressive. When the front gets over-aggressive, it's a steamrolling effect. And you put pressure on the secondary to make them look bad. So it just has to be more controlled.
I mean, the secondary has been playing pretty well. I mean, Kendall Fuller, 4 interceptions in 3 games. He's been balling out. The secondary's been playing. I like the Cameron Carroll, they're working him in slowly. Troy Apke, I don't think got 1 snap. DeShazer Everett was out there. Besides those, 2 bonehead penalties, he had a decent game, but those penalties, you just can't do that.
Yep. Killer.
Hey, Robbie, didn't you say DC People's Champ was ready to come on, man? I know we went a little bit longer. We had some technical difficulty to start the show.
Yeah, they're both ready to go. So DC People's Champ, I'm going to bring him in first, and then I am going to disappear. I'll let you guys have a conversation, and then also be able to bring Brian in that way as well.
All right, sounds good. What's up, DC's People's Champ? What's your thoughts of this game yesterday, the reaction of the fans with the failed 2-point conversions? And I've heard so many things from Rivera's ego is why he did it, to he needs to be fired and all this other stuff. So what are the fans talking about, DC People's Champ?
CP3!
What's going on, baby?
Okay. All I hear from the fans is the exact same thing that you just said. All is wrong with their ego. They should have taken the extra point to go to overtime, X, Y, and Z. I personally, like I said, of course, I was upset that they went for it because they didn't get it. But after I let it play, I was like, you know what? Herm Edwards said something very profound when he was the head coach of the Jets. You play to win the game. Because here's the thing. If you go out there and you kick the extra point, guess what? It's not like it's on the 2-yard line where it's a chip shot. There's no guarantee Dustin Hopkins makes that extra point. Guess what? What are you going to do then? Oh, Ron Rivera should have went for 2. That's the problem with fan base. Duchesne said it earlier. They just want to look for something to complain about. That's all that is. And listen, they're trying to win games. They had an opportunity to win a game that looked like it may have been out of reach. So why not do it? Why not go for it? Was the play call a correct play call? I said, I'm not a football guy. I'm a fan. I pay attention to a lot of stuff, but it didn't look like it was the right call. Clearly it wasn't. But the bottom line is, you played to win the game. And Robinberg went out and he played to win the game. And that's where I sit right there. I'm glad he went. I really am glad. That shows me that we have a coach that has a set of, you know what, that when it's that time, he's going to make the choice to go and win the game, not sit there and hide. He's going to go out and he's going to win the game.
No doubt. Really calling Riverboat Ron for a reason, man. He takes that gamble. And we saw that, it's the fourth downs. They were 2 for 2. I think they're, 7 for 9 for the season on fourth down. So, I mean, it just, like I said, the play calling definitely goes into that. And Scott Turner's still, he's still young. This is his first for official offensive coordinator position. Granted, he called plays last year, but this is the first time where he's making the game plan. He's calling the plays. He's setting the schemes up. And he's, the strategy behind it. Granted, I think he needs a little help in those areas, but he has to learn. That's the only way he is going to learn. That's why Sean McVay is the coordinator he is out in L.A. He had time to learn, figure out his style, and now they have one of the most potent, diverse offenses in the NFL. So, I mean, we got to give him time to develop just like the players will develop. Coaches have to develop also. I've said that over and over again, especially for a young coach. So, I mean...
I got a question, CP3.
Say that again?
I got a question.
What's up?
Question for you. Okay. Again, this is coming from a fan's perspective. When Haskins went out and had an average game, people wanted him benched. Kyle Allen goes out and, in my opinion, had an average game. In my opinion. Yeah, it's crickets. They're using the stats to excuse him.
That's why I said I wasn't even going to bring stats into it, because no matter how good his stat line looked, he still had that costly fumble. That's ball security. That's fundamentals. You're in the fray. I can't remember if it was second or third down, but it was a down that they were going to be blitzing. They're going to be coming. You got to secure that ball, especially at that point in the game when it's a tie game with less than 5 minutes and you're driving down to take the potential game, leading score, to run the clock down. So, I mean, I've always said Haskins needed more time to learn the offense because there's no preseason, no OTAs. Rivera said, he gave him 4 games. He didn't like what he saw. He think he needs to work on some things that can be worked on the sideline. And then, like I said, he never said he was permanently going to be benched for the whole season. I don't know why folks assume that, but he never said that once. So, I mean, I feel like he will get back in the game, and that he's, hopefully he's going to learn from being on the sideline, seeing from a different perspective, and hopefully, something to click, and, he'll work on his mechanics while he isn't playing, that what he should be doing, hopefully, because it's all about muscle memory. It's all about doing it repetitively over and over consistently. That's what hopefully he's working on with not being the starter right now. That's how he improves himself. That's how he becomes that NFL quarterback, by working on the small things, the little things, the details. That's what makes you a top quarterback, not the flash or going for the big throw and the big arm and trying to fit into a tight window. That's cool, but you can only do that when you have the fundamentals down, and that's what he has to get. And I'm hoping this time he will get that, and when and if, I'm trusting Rivera, like I said, when he gets back in the game, hopefully we see some improvement.
Kyle Allen's stat line reminds me of the old saying, looks can be deceiving. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, he managed the game. He didn't have too many stupid mistakes, but he still had stupid mistakes. And like Dujane said, he's still young. But that's what hopefully leaves the door open for Haskins to get back in there, because he's not like he's lighting it up and the team putting up 30 points now and still in the loss. They're averaging 17 points a game. They got 19, so it is what it is. What about you, Dujane?
You know how I feel about the whole thing. I'm just a believer that, it's important to find out what you have in a guy, because we all know quarterbacks kill coaches. That's really what it all boils down to. hopefully, especially with ownership, you turn the corner with that, and he's going to have his amount of time. But in a draft that has potentially quarterbacks that can help your franchise and be franchise quarterbacks, you definitely want to find that out now because you want to know how you're going to spend your picks. Like I said, I just don't understand. I understand you want to take advantage of a division, I guess. I don't know how. You can see that offensively you have the ability to do that. I guess you have to give them a lot of amount of time. But like I said, I just think it's silly to sit here and yet we're talking about quarterbacks with mechanics problems. And one of these quarterbacks that's playing right now has played for 2 years, and this is his third year. It's not like it's his rookie season. He's had some playing time, some long, extended playing time, unlike Haskins. So I think it's an unfair judgment to say that, he's not ready. Well, no, you know what, Sherlock? We know that Haskins isn't ready, but it's his job to get him ready, and you said that you wanted to go with him and was willing to go with this, knowing that he was going to have, basically a bad start because of all the setbacks. You were willing to go with that. So then coach him up and get him out there and let him play through it and work through it. But this is the route we're in. So with that,
real quick, not to cut you off, DJ, I looked up where that fumble happened that Carol mentioned earlier. It was a 3rd and 9 on the Giants 45 at 3 minutes and 41 seconds left in the game. It was that fumble recovery that was returned for a touchdown, 43 yards.
Yeah, you can't do that. But I know we got Brian B., the Giants fan, in the wings waiting. Brian, go ahead and turn your camera on. We're going to bring you in so you can enjoy the first victory of the New York Giants season, give you something to root for. What's going on, Brian? We know we got you coming up for some baseball coverage in a little while. So how do you feel about your New York football Giants earning their first win by stopping that 2-point conversion to prevail for their first victory of the 2020 season?
I mean, it feels good to get a win. I mean, I guess somebody had to win this game between Washington. I mean, just ugly football game. And I'm not really surprised the Giants got the game-winning touchdown. I mean, what held up is the game-winning touchdown the way they did on the fumble recovery. I want to give a shout-out to Tay Crowder, the guy who returned that fumble recovery, the 43 yards like Champ just mentioned, because he was Mr. Irrelevant in the draft. He was the last player picked in the NFL draft. So he deserves a lot of credit for that touchdown. It's awesome to see somebody who was picked that low get a big moment like that in a huge game. So shout-out to Tay Crowder. I mean, that's just awesome to see. As far as, going for 2 and everything, I actually agree with the decision to go for 2. I thought that was the smart move by Washington and Ron Rivera. I've seen people go both ways on it today. People say it was the right move. People say it was the wrong move. But I personally, even as a Giants fan, would not have been too upset if they had gotten the 2-point conversion and won, because I respect that. I respect the balls on that move. It's a ballsy move, and it paid. Unfortunately for Washington, it didn't pay off. But I respect it. You go for the win in a situation like that. You don't know how many wins you're going to get this season, so you might as well go for the win. So I respect it. I'm happy the Giants held on and won, but I guess somebody had to win that game. Not the prettiest football game, that's for sure.
How did you feel about it when you saw Daniel Jones making that 49-yard run? What were you doing at that moment? Did you spill your beer? Did you knock over your plate of food? What happened?
I mean, I was a little delayed because I was watching on Red Zone, but just incredible. I mean, Daniel Jones has had his inconsistencies for sure this season, but you kind of mentioned it with Haskins with Washington. The jury's still out on him. Well, the jury's still out on Daniel Jones, I would say, in New York. Obviously, there's a big quarterback prospect in this year's upcoming draft, in Trevor Lawrence. So you don't know where, people are saying he's a can't-miss prospect. If you get the number 1 pick, you kind of be foolish not to take him. So there's a lot of questions about Daniel Jones going into the season as well. But, I guess he did enough to win the game overall, I'll say, on Jones.
Yeah, he managed the game. He had the 1 interception that, Fuller got that, his elbow might have been in the white, but it wasn't conclusive to turn it over. That's why I really wasn't mad about the missed call on the 2-point conversion, because Fuller, I think his elbow did land out of bounds. So sometimes you get the bounce, sometimes you don't. That's why I really wasn't, too upset about it. Because, some calls you get, some calls you don't. But it is what it is. Guess I got to ask, since we got a nice roundtable, I asked each of you, how does it feel to be in the worst division in football? We're used to, even though the Washington football team hasn't been successful, we were at least able to say, we had one of the better divisions in football. I just want to know, how do we get here this bad right now? Brian, I go to you first with the Giants because we've been at the bottom together for a little while now.
Yeah. I don't know how it got this bad. I mean, I expected Washington and the Giants to be pretty bad this season, but I didn't expect the Cowboys to be as mediocre as they've been. And Philadelphia, I mean, they made some, they did almost come back against Baltimore yesterday, but they made some questionable play calling on the 2-point conversion. I don't know. The Giants play the Eagles this week in an NFC showdown. I guess this is another game where somebody has to win. I don't know how it's gotten so bad. This used to be the premier division in football. I believe this is the only division in football where every team has won the Super Bowl before. So I don't know how it got so bad so quickly. But, man, it's really ugly. I'm watching this Cowboys game right now, and it's just like, if you like punting, this is the game for you. But other than that, it's been awful to watch so far.
Tressway been the Washington football team MVP for the last 6 seasons. He's been a great player. He's been an MVP every year in my book. Champ, what do you say, man, about this division right now?
This division's been bad for more than just this year. It's been bad for a few years. There have been maybe a couple years in between where it's shown its normal history of being hard and tough to get through. But for the most part, over the last, I would say, decade, to be honest with you, from a fan's perspective, NFC East has been the NFC least. It really has. I mean, a lot of times a division winner is barely above 500 and gets a home playoff game and things of that nature. It's been bad. It hasn't been as competitive as it used to be back in the days when I was a young man watching the team with the old name going up against like the Cowboys and the Giants and the Eagles, and then before they expanded, the Phoenix Cardinals. That's how far back I go when it comes to the NFC East. Yeah, trust me, I'm older than that.
I never understood how the Phoenix Cardinals was in the NFC. I never understood that one.
Yeah, no, I never understood that either, how the Phoenix Cardinals were in the NFC East and they were out west. When they expanded, it finally made sense. They ended up in the west. But anyway, no, this division hasn't been as good in the last 10 years as it used to be. And if something doesn't change, people are going to start looking at, when they have the schedule and the NFC East is on the schedule, they're going to circle that and say, oh, that's a dub. That's a dub. That's a dub. It never used to be like that. But now that's the way it looks like it's going to be. At least for 3 of the 4 teams in this division.
I mean, I can say that the division hasn't been that good, but it's always at least been one decent team that, could do something. I mean, in the 90s, the NFC East dominated the Super Bowls. So I always say you can't be on top all the time, but that was like almost, 30 years ago. So I'm trying to figure out, why is it taking it this long to be this bad, where the division leader has 2 wins after 6 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Dujane, what is your thought process? You get to see the league at a wider view than we do. What do you see the difference with the NFC East and some of the other teams you cover in NFC South and West that you've covered before?
I think it just boils down to just poor mismanagement. I mean, if you look at the Cowboys, for instance, they've probably been the most talented team in the division, and done the least with the most. And you see combination, everybody's still trying to blame the coach, and the owner won't take a back seat. Washington, you see all the things going on behind the scenes that, when you don't fully clean the house, those things tend to creep up into other parts of your organization, and that's been, along with, playing fantasy football with a football team, there's been various things that have gone on with this team. The Eagles are kind of the same way, in the sense that it's really not coaching more than it is, the Eagles have been making gambles on certain things a lot, whether it's players or whatever, and they ain't really been in a position where they have guys that are going to step in, like, they act like they're the Patriots, like they can just cut anybody they want that's a big name and done something for them, because they just going to rebound. and they've done that time and time again here. They've also brought back people that honestly, I mean, if it went sour the first time, they always trying to strike and lightning to strike in the same place twice. It hasn't worked for them. And the Giants are the Giants. I mean, it's from top down. It's just, I don't really care for the Mars anyway, but the GM and management organization is just trash, and it's showing up on the football field. You're getting rid of people. They think they can just do what the Patriots do and put people in there. They just don't have the talent. And they picked a quarterback that probably could have gone in the second or third round in the first round. I'll give Jones his credit though. At least he's improving week to week. But he just doesn't have anybody around him, and that's ownership's fault. So really, it's a lot of management problems here, and there's other teams in this division that need to clean it up a little bit if they want to see the resurgence. Because I really do think, even though Washington looks the worst, at the end of the day, they likely will be the first. If between them and the Eagles will be the first two to start to ascend a little bit. I think the Cowboys are always going to be there, but it's a crapshoot. You know what I mean? Depends on which way the sun is setting and the wind blowing and the clouds are sitting for them to either get 10 wins or 8 wins at this point. Until ownership figures out that he just needs to write checks and keep his mouth shut.
I don't think he ever gonna learn that.
He's not.
Ever think.
He's Al Davis too.
Oh God. Well,
At least Al Davis had some championships.
Exactly.
Yeah. But, I ain't even gonna go ahead. I know, dude, we had you all for about an hour, man. I know you probably got some other stuff to get to, some articles to write. Let the folks know where they can find you and what you got upcoming for us.
Everything's on sportsjourney.com. You can follow me at NotBland21. Love talking shop with you guys. And the podcast will have a new one this week. And you can catch that on all major podcasting platforms. And you can also catch it on the Sports OTHB site. So plenty of stuff, and will be something new this week.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it as always, man. You have a good night, and I'll wrap to you, man. I'll let you watch this 0-0 Cowboys-Arizona game with 14:36 left in the second quarter. I'm sorry. I'm still thinking hockey. I don't know why. Ezekiel Elliott had a fumble a little while ago. But Arizona is on the move now, trying to capitalize off this 3rd and 1, 14-29. This Kyler Murray dude is ridiculous, man. I'm glad it ain't just the Washington football team he was making look foolish. He made one dude leave his jockstrap on the field a little while ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, incomplete pass on 3rd and 1. Should have been a completion. But looked like they might be staying on the field. I think they're going to go for it. But, dudes, now I'll let you get out of here. I know we got to get ready to get the MLB Talk World Series and ALCS and NLCS recap. So I appreciate it as always, man, and we'll definitely talk to you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Talk to you, brother.
Later.
All right, see if we get Robbie back up in here. Where you at, Robbie? There you go. Yeah, there we go. That was another great segment of Washington football talk. I don't know if Champ wanted to stick around for some MLB talk.
Well, I haven't paid attention to no baseball this year.
Right. We'll let him do his shout out, and then we'll bring Arun in for baseball.
Oh yeah, I forgot we had Arun. That's what it was.
Yeah.
We just forgot about Arun.
No, I never forgot about Arun.
He's so quiet. Normally he would have said something by now. He would have came in with an RG3 reference from somewhere.
Right, that's true. Well, I'll let Champ say his no spots plug, and then we'll bring Arun in.
All right, well, this week on No Spots, we got 2 pay-per-views to preview this week in Impact Bound for Glory, which is their version of their WrestleMania, and WWE Hell in a Cell. Of course, we're going to recap the week, including who won the G1 Climax this past weekend. If you want to know that, we put up the G1 Climax recall podcast on today. That's up on our channel, so make sure you check that out. We got a lot going on here, and also we will be live streaming not only the podcast, but we will be live streaming our reactions to Bound for Glory and Hell in a Cell this week.
That's awesome. I want to give a quick shout out. I think it's really awesome that you guys are using some StreamYard technology and be able to. It was cool to see Sith and you go back and forth live on the podcast, and I highly recommend it, and sort of where all these True Radio Network, where we're all going. We all started here, and we're all growing through doing some cool video stuff, and I'm happy to see it, and I'm looking forward to the growth of the No Spots podcast. And Champ, I appreciate your time as always.
Thank you guys for having me. Y'all have a good night.
All right, Champ, take it easy, man. Appreciate it as always.
All right, with that, we'll bring in Arun, who I never forgot, for the record. We'll have some good old-fashioned baseball talk. We usually bring him in with the NBA talk, so he's so much earlier. So I understand why Carol is not used to bringing him in after football talk.
Yeah, that's true too. I didn't even think about that. Robbie.
There you go. I'm giving you an out. So and by the way, exciting news. The Cowboys just got scored on, so that's always exciting. Number 13, I don't even know who's that.
That's Christian Frederick. Yeah, I'm not in the real foot. I forgot to mention that I lost by 50 in fantasy football this week.
I will, before we get too far into it, 'cause I just want to give a shout out to a couple of the people and to Dugenet as well. But we've been crushing this Hertz House thing. I've had a rough couple of the last couple of picks, but Carol, you and I are both tied with 9 points on the week, so we're right there with the top. Arun is right up there, 7 points. So Carol's 1. Arun is tied for 2nd. I'm just 5 points back at 4th, tied with 6th, and just 1 point behind us. Tied down at 6th is Dugenet, and then Hurt and DC's People's Champ. I'll give DC People's Champ a shout out though. He also got 9 points in the week, so he had a good week. He's trying to climb back in it as well, but it's been fun to do some of these picks against each other. But with all of that, hi Arun, how are you doing? I hope you had a good week. Oh, I think you did. Wait.
That show isn't a show until somebody double mutes themselves.
Maybe your mic is muted on your actual headset.
Now?
I can. There we go.
Okay.
Arun is in the building.
Yeah, overall, not doing too great after that Washington game, but I mean, it was kind of expected, kind of. They still take away to lose, but.
Well, I'll let you get your take. Would you have gone for the 2, or would you have gone to overtime?
Considering they shut them out, I mean, I'm not upset that they went for 2, but I probably would have picked the extra point.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I would have liked some sort of crazy run, draw, trick play, something crazy
or
like that.
Yeah, I didn't like the play call. Like, if they're going to run that play, it was kind of, yeah.
I just like the misdirection, running it in. I don't know. I'm not for throwing it, I guess, in that circumstance. I just, maybe, in certain circumstances, but at least that's not the throw or the passing play I would have done. But maybe you're right, Carol. Maybe the play was completely disrupted by, the tackle of the running back. So who knows what would have happened. But if the running back's out in the flat and he's like, there's people out there blocking in front of him, that's not the play. That couldn't happen. So it'll be interesting to see. But all right, let's get into some baseball talk. It's been an interesting week for sure. Both the NLCS and the ALCS both went to 7. And Brian, can you talk a little bit about some of the historical, like when was the last time and how rare that is?
Yes. This is the first time that both ALCS and NLCS have gone to Game 7 since 2004, when it was the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Cardinals and the Astros. And the only other time before that it happened was the year before, 2003, which was the Yankees and the Red Sox again, the Cubs and the Marlins. So it's only happened 3 other times in history. It's pretty crazy to think. I mean, it didn't look like either of these series were heading towards Game 7, but we ended up at Game 7, and ended up with the World Series we got.
Yeah, so I'm just going to break down the scores of the game, and we're not going to break down each game, obviously, but then I will go and ask all of you guys a question about the series and your overall takeaways from it, just so that way we can kind of condense it down, because otherwise it's 14 games right now, which is too much. But so we're going to do the the Braves and Dodgers series first, just because we usually talk about the National League. And so the Braves took the first one over the Dodgers 5-1. That was on Monday. Then on Tuesday, the Braves once again beat the Dodgers. That was 8-7. And then Game 3, the Dodgers crushed the Braves. It was a 15-3 game on Wednesday. And then on Game 4, the Braves just kind of dominated the Dodgers right back. It was a 10-2 game. That was on Thursday. And then Game 5 was on Friday, where the Dodgers took that game. And then they also took Game 6 to force a Game 7, which the Dodgers also won by a score of 4-3. So it's another circumstance with Atlanta choking away a potential series here. Kind of a la the Super Bowl, and many times in Atlanta's history have they choked away things they could have won. I'll start off with Arun. Arun, what are some of your takeaways from this series?
It was simply like everyone said Clayton Kershaw choked earlier in the series, but then I think Frank Thomas in the postgame said that the series was already over when it was 3-1, and which is kind of crazy. And then given the Braves' history, just that whole Atlanta Sports 5, like they blew the Super Bowl lead 28-3, and now they blew a 3-1 lead, and the Cleveland Indians tweeted at them that they said, like, you can join us for counseling this Thursday. And it's just like, I don't know, like, Seager was pretty clutch. Even the Game 7, when the Braves were up, it felt like the game was tied, and when the game was tied, it felt like the Dodgers were just like going to pull ahead, and Seager hit that great home run off of really long at bat to really improve his patience, taking a lot of pitches. And Will Smith hit a home run off of Will Smith on the key play. And yeah, it's overall pretty epic collapse, I guess, but although for Atlanta, maybe not so much.
Right. I will say I tried to watch that Game 7. It's been a struggle to watch a lot of these games. It's hard for me to get into it. I was watching it. It was kind of back and forth. It was okay. But then I fell asleep at the bottom of the 8th. And I don't know. It was like tied. And the Dodgers did take the lead, but I don't know. The game wasn't super exciting for me. But I don't know. Carol, did you have any thoughts on this series?
It was kind of bittersweet, man, because I told you I would rather both teams lose. But then when Atlanta went up 3-1, I didn't really want Atlanta to go. And then when the Dodgers tied it up to make it 3-3, forced Game 7, then I checked the score because I didn't even watch the game. I checked the score this morning and saw who won. I was happy that the Braves lost, but I was mad that the Dodgers were going to the World Series. So I'm just rooting for Tampa Bay, man.
Right, that makes some sense. All right, so Brian, what is your breakdown of this series?
Yeah, I mean, Arun talked about it, the Will Smith on Will Smith home run. Who would have thought that such a hilarious moment like that would end up being a pivotal turning point in the series? Will Smith hits that home run, and the Dodgers really never looked back in that game and in the rest of the series. Were able to come back from 3-1. Walker Buehler pitched great in Game 6. He outdueled Max Fried, who is another good young rising star for the nice touchdown by Kyler Murray on Monday Night Football, by the way.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Ezekiel Elliott's second fumble.
There's a flag, though.
Oh, no. You're ahead of me, so you already knew that. But,
yeah.
But anyway, Max Fried is a great young pitcher for the Braves, but Walker Buehler's really turned into the ace of the Dodgers staff. And in Game 7, even though Atlanta got out to an early 2-0 lead and then got a 3-2 lead later on, you never really felt like it was safe given their history of choking and given Atlanta as a whole's history of choking with the Falcons and everything. And Arun also mentioned the Bellinger at-bat where he hit the home run to give the Dodgers a lead. And I also want to give a shout-out to Mookie Betts as well, who I used to hate when he was on the Red Sox. Like, I really could not stand Mookie Betts, but now that he's on the Dodgers, I love watching him play. I mean, he had some incredible defensive plays in this series and absolutely saved the Dodgers. They probably don't win that series if it's not for Mookie Betts' glove. And, the better team definitely won the series, in my opinion. Even when the Braves were up 3-1, I still thought the Dodgers were the better team, and the Dodgers absolutely deserve to win.
And now that's why I hate Mookie Betts now.
I was going to say, now there's a touchdown, 1 yard run. And it sucks because I think the penalty wasn't actually what I thought it was.
It was an unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense. It was something, who knows, something they did something.
Dallas being trashy. But, his knee hit before the ball.
Yeah, that Kyler Murray dude, man.
But then they just handed off to the running back, and boom, just like, at that point, it was at the 1 inch line. So,
yeah, that Kyler Murray dude is going to be a problem.
Yeah, so already 14-0. We're not even, we're just barely into the second quarter. So hopefully there's just an epic beatdown, like a 50-0 game, because that would
I'm for it.
And both of the scores was off of Ezekiel Elliott's fumbles, and this is his career high in fumbles already. I believe that made number 5 on the season, which is a career high for him, and we're only on week 6. So.
And they gave him the big contract, right, in the offseason?
Yeah, that's normally how it goes. That's why they don't give running backs to get contracts, because normally once they do, they start doing stuff like this.
Got a case of the fumbleitis, right? It's like, but yeah, so that's exciting. But going back to baseball, I just overall, it's hard for me to get into these series just because I don't really like either of these teams, and so if Siri wants to talk to us because it's a series, pay attention, at the same time, I'm kind of excited that the ultimate championship year, we've had 3 kind of COVID championships that are crowned within a short period of time. And so either Tampa Bay will win 2 or LA will win 2. And that's kind of who would have thought that would be I guess I would predict it to LA probably over Tampa Bay. That would be, if Tampa Bay is able to win 2 championships here, I think that would be the most surprising for me. Let's talk about this other series. I know these are 2 teams that you hate and you wanted. It's kind of like we talked about the 2 teams Carol wanted to lose, and now we're going to talk about the 2 teams Brian wanted to lose.
Yes.
So let's break down the games real fast, and then we'll talk about it. Game 1, Rays took 2-1 on Sunday, so we talked a little bit about that before. And then on Monday, we talked about the 4-2 victory. So at that point, we kind of were thinking that the Rays would have it easy when we were last on the podcast. It wasn't so easy for them. The next one, they actually did win 5-2, but then it all started to kind of fall apart for them, where on Wednesday, Astros won 4-3. And then they did the same thing the next day. On Thursday, they won 4-3. And then they were able to win on Friday. That one was 7-4. And they forced a Game 7. Ultimately, the Rays were able to prevail in that game 4-2. But, Brian, 3-0 leads and choking them. What are some of your thoughts on that series and that almost historic collapse there?
Yeah, when the series started, as you guys remember, I said I wanted both teams to lose, and I pretty much stood by that for the entire series. But around the time we got to Game 6 or so, I started kind of having conflicting feelings, because as a Yankee fan, the Yankees are the only team to ever blow a 3-0 lead in a playoff series, and it kind of got me thinking, maybe it would be good to no longer be the only team to have that on their resume. And so I started kind of thinking maybe it would be good if the Astros completed the comeback. And then I had to keep reminding myself, this is the Astros we're talking about here, the cheaters. So I had to keep telling myself that. So ultimately, I rooted for Tampa Bay to get the series win. And, I got to give credit. The best player on the Rays, without a doubt, this postseason, there's 2 that really stick out. One is Randy Arozarena, who I believe has hit the most home runs by any rookie in the postseason history, with 7. He was the ALCS MVP. He's been a great, huge addition. The Cardinals just let him go for virtually nothing. which was very dumb on their part. Now he's absolutely killing it for Tampa Bay. He's a huge part of their offense and a huge part of their team. Without him, they don't win that series. And Charlie Morton, the Rays have great starting pitching, but he's technically their number 3 starter. But he's actually one of the most clutch pitchers in recent postseason history. He's the only pitcher to ever win 3 Game 7s in Major League Baseball history. He won 2 in 2017 when he was with the Astros, and now he won another one on Saturday with Tampa Bay. So, like the NLCS, I really believe that the best team won this series. The Rays have been the best team in the AL all season. They were better than the Yankees in the AL East, and they really showed it in these playoffs. And the Astros barely snuck into the playoffs with an under 500 record. I would really have thought it would have been a travesty if they made the World Series. And this was a great series, really a dramatic 7-gamer, and the better team won. Like the NLCS, I think the best team won the ALCS.
Carol, something big just happened. I saw your face. See what just happened in that game.
It was just a blitz on Andy Dalton that he didn't see coming, and it was a clean defender, and he held onto the ball, but he got his world rocked.
I've seen the replay now.
Yeah, those are the sacks that you dream of as a defender. Coming unblocked, straight up the A gap, and the quarterback don't see you. Yeah, those are the ones you dream of. That's why. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, ooh, Andy Dalton gonna feel that one tomorrow. He gonna feel that one tomorrow.
Oh, but turn around and they get a first down on a 2nd and 17 play. What a strike there to Gallup. To try to get some confidence back in that team. But wow, what a crazy pass.
I'm not too delayed tonight. I'm only a play behind.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Now we're really probably going to see the hit. It's been interesting. I definitely think that the American League playoff championship series was more interesting than the, at least for me.
Not for me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I know you hated the teams, but I thought that the games were exciting and close, and not sort of these blowouts back and forth, but they were competitive all the way through. It was just sort of an interesting storyline. I just thought it was such a blowout in the series when they're up 3-0, and they're like, oh, they extended it one night. That's nice. Oh, they extended it one night. That's nice. And then it happened again. I was like, oh, wow, they could actually do this. Like, it was just kind of a weird thing, but
I actually thought they were going to come all the way back.
Yeah, I'm happy with the result.
I thought they were too, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want the Astros in it. I don't obviously hate Tampa Bay as much as Brian does, although I did want, obviously, the Yankees to get their revenge, that's what we talked about earlier on, but at least one of the two teams in the East got revenge, and I think it's kind of fun that the World Series championship is going to stay in the Eastern time zone for another year. It's just how far south does it go, right?
Well, not if the Dodgers win.
Oh, not if the Dodgers win. Yeah, sorry. But I think that they're going to win this, I think, is what I was trying to say. Yeah. Anyway, so I guess we'll go into some World Series predictions. Well, let me get the schedule out there first, and then I'll get your guys' take on it. Game 1 tomorrow, 8:09. And then you're right. I had that storyline in my head when it was Atlanta, and I don't know why I thought for a second that they had won. But you're right. No, the Dodgers did win. So I was trying to figure out why in my head I had that it was going to go south, but it wasn't. Right? But anyway, so go Rays Dodgers tomorrow, 8:09, and then Wednesday, 8:08, and then Friday. It's going to be another 8. Well, they're all at 8:08. So I'm just going to stop saying the time. So the Dodgers play the Rays on Friday, then on Saturday, and then on Sunday. So if it's a 4-1 ugly series, we'll recap the series on episode 200. If it goes to a game 6, which would be Tuesday, or game 7 on Wednesday, then we'll actually have a bit of a more exciting series to preview, which I kind of hope for. I hope that episode 200 we're talking about a fun World Series, not a 4-1 sweep. But either way, it'll be exciting. I'm going to get your guys' prediction on this series now. I'll start with you, Carol. Give your take, and then we'll go around the roundtable. Who do you want? You already said you wanted the Rays, but
Yeah.
what do you think's going to happen?
I'm hoping the Rays can pull it off with the way they've been playing. As Brian said, they've been the best team in the AL, for the whole run. They don't quit, don't give up. And I was looking at I saw something on one of the MLB websites or something that Kershaw, Merck, and Mookie Betts combined make like $28 million, and that's more than the whole Tampa Bay roster made.
They each make $28 million.
Oh,
that's more than...
excuse me. I'm sorry. That's crazy that their salary is the same payroll as Tampa Bay. That's wow. But I don't know, the Dodgers. I haven't really watched them closely, but I saw that 15-run game they put up before Atlanta put 10 up in the next game. But to me, that was a statement game. They didn't put their head down. They were down 3-1. They were, I felt like that was like their catalyst to say, man, we can do this. Even though they lost the next game, they went on to win the next, 3. So, I mean, I'm rooting for Tampa, but this might be the Dodgers' year. I hate to say that. I'm rooting for Tampa. I'm hoping Tampa win it, but I'm leaning towards the Dodgers.
How many games? Do you think we'll talk about a series, an exciting series next week, or do you think the series is going to be done?
Being that both for the championship series went 7, I'm going to say the World Series went 7, just like last year. And I'm going to go ahead and end it. This is the last week that we'll be able to say the Nationals are the World Series champions.
Right. So not the last week. For episode 200,
yeah, hopefully, yeah. We still have one more week to say it before they have to get the crown.
Nice. I like it. Being the champions still on episode 200. I'm definitely for that. All right, we're going to go to Arun, and then I'm going to end with you, Brian. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, it's still I guess this is the longest year for the Nationals to be champions in some ways because of the pandemic, but I think I'm going to go with the Dodgers in 5 games. I don't know, it might be longer, but it's I think that's didn't even have great I think they just have too many weapons, and they've been eliminated 3 years in a row by the eventual champion. 4 years in a row would be kind of crazy, but I'm just going to go with the Dodgers. Their starting pitching is really good. Rays pitching is also really good. I just don't think they have as many explosive batters as the Dodgers.
Interesting. All right, so Ryan, you're kind of the tiebreaker here, right? Because Earl went Rays, we're the Dodgers. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I am going to pick the Dodgers. I think that they've been knocking on the door for the last couple of years. I mean, they've won their division 8 straight years, and they have no World Series titles to show for it. I think it's the Dodgers' time. Like I said about Mookie, I think he was the missing piece for this team, and just the way he's been playing defensively in this postseason has really saved the Dodgers. I think it's their time. I think this is going to be a great series. I have it going 6. But I would not be surprised if it goes 7, because I really feel like we do have the 2 best teams. We had a 16-team playoff for the first time ever in Major League history. We still ended up with the 2 top seeds. So I think it's going to be a good series. I'm going to go with Dodgers in 6.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we ended up with the 2-1. We kind of talked about that last week, about how rare it was, how interesting it is that they're at the end, the 2 top seeds, and we thought last week that it might be those 2 teams, and we were right, in the end. And I'm gonna just make it interesting. I'm gonna pick the Rays. I'm gonna do it in 6, just to do something a little different. But I don't know. I think the American League. It would be interesting to see, but I wouldn't be surprised in that sort of park down in Texas. If that plays an advantage, and also getting. Both teams are used to not having the DH this year, but I still think that's still an advantage for the Rays to have that more of their arsenal, and they just know how to play with it for longer. I wouldn't be surprised if the designated hitter outshines the Dodgers in this series, but I think it'll be a very close series. Obviously, it's going to go to maybe a 6 or 7, but I'm going to pick the Rays just because I think it's just sort of this year for Tampa. I just don't know why. I just think that it's just this kind of crazy
COVID redemption for Florida.
Right, exactly. I don't know why. It's like they did all the things wrong, with the championship, and they'll probably get 2 parades, and they'll probably do all the things wrong again.
And nobody will have a mask on.
Yeah, exactly. And props, by the way, to LA. We talked about whether or not they were going to do crazy get-togethers. Like, turns out during our podcast last week, obviously we didn't talk about it, they were kind of like riding in the streets a little bit, but it wasn't like the team told them to do
Robbie, we have a scoring update.
Oh, nice.
Kyler Murray to Christian Kirk for an 80-yard touchdown reception. The Arizona is now up 20-0, going for the extra point now. This Kyler Murray dude is having a coming out party. A second.
Oh, what a fake, though. He just sort of like slipped it under and whoop, and then it was a good play action, though. They bit hard. And then there's 2 street routes, right? So,
yeah, right on the fingertips. That was a perfectly thrown ball.
Oh my god. Oh, that's so great. Oh man. There's still 4 minutes more in this first half. So I mean, this is gonna hopefully get ugly quick. I like it.
I'm glad I cut the Cowboys defense last week.
Yeah. I don't know, but I feel like this is just gonna make the Cowboys mad when they play us. I feel like me getting too excited about this is gonna be backfire somehow against me. But I'll still enjoy it while we can, right? Everybody should enjoy the cellar together. Overall, I hope that this is an exciting World Series. I'll definitely try to watch some of it. I know you guys will watch it and help us break it down next week as part of episode 200. So next week we'll talk Cowboys versus Washington football team to start the show, and then we'll definitely get into some World Series talk and break that down as well. And I do kind of hope that next week isn't the last week for baseball, and if there's one more week, just as they're talking about, it'd be nice. Because we were knocking on the doorstep of being champions for hockey for episode 100, right? And then to be champions in different sports for 200 is kind of cool. And one thing at the end of next week's episode I'm going to bring to the table is I'm going to bring together my top 10 favorite moments and I encourage if any of you guys have your own top 10 and want to think about moments that you guys enjoyed on it, to bring those to the table too. But no pressure to anybody. I'll just do my top 10 if nobody else does at the end of next week's show. We just had such great moments, and I wanted to sort of recap some of those as part of episode 200, just to make it a little bit more exciting and something to look forward to for next week. I'll let Arun and Brian give their final takes and their final thoughts before we let them go. And Brian, I want to give a quick little shout out to you. Congratulations on restarting your podcast. I know I got to be on the last season that you did a couple of years back, 3 years ago, if I remember correctly. And so I enjoyed being on it a few times, talking basketball and a lot of different sports with you. And I'm really excited for you to have the return of it. I'm also excited for you to try new technology, like maybe doing some of the StreamYard stuff that we were talking to the champ about, and then also using Anchor. And I'll let you give your shout out and where people can find that as well.
Yeah, so I recently revived my podcast, Upon Further Review with Brian Brennan. I just dropped the first full official episode today. As of right now, I think it's only available on Spotify. I'm still trying to figure out how to get it to other platforms. But yes, thank you, Robbie, for telling me about Anchor and StreamYard and all the other services that I'm going to be looking into. I'm really excited to have my podcast back. And I hope to have all of you, Arun, Carol, Robbie, you're all welcome anytime on the podcast. So, looking forward to a new generation of Upon Further Review with Brian Brennan.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and for sure. And once we get it up there, I'm going to make a podcast button on my website as well, and this way we can have a couple. I know we have Dujanay's articles right now on there, but I'd like to add your podcast. I'd also like to add the No Spots podcast. So I'm going to try to find a way to add another button to my already very crowded buttons at the top. But I think I'm excited for it, and I think people should be checking out. I'm so excited that these are just members of our team. You're not part of the TRU RADIO Network team, although you may as well at this point. You're unofficial.
Done enough podcasts now, yeah.
Member, right? Maybe we could just grandfather you in. I mean, I know that Carol and I are both board members. Probably get him a vote right now, but we'll go through proper channels. Maybe get you as part of our network as well, and then we can get you some other buttons on other network things too. So I'm excited for you to bring it back and to see where it goes from here, and I look forward to being on a future show with you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me on. Have a good night.
All right,
Brian, take it easy, man.
Sounds good. Well, Arun, I know you once had an anchor podcast, right? It's like, but maybe we'll revive that someday. But for now, let people know where they can follow you, and any other final thoughts you have before we let you go.
Yeah, you can follow me on my blog. I still make my weekly NFL picks. Wasn't doing too well this week, but just final thoughts. Kyle Allen has now lost 9 games in a row, and that's right now he surpassed RG3, who only lost 6 in a row. So congrats to Kyle Allen. Thanks for having me on.
There goes the random RG3 reference.
You got it in, just as a wire. I have that kind of expectation of the road, Got to come hard with the RG3 factor together. Right?
It was funny. I actually saw somebody put a post up that RG3 is a free agent next year. What do you guys think? I was like, really?
If they want to tank for next year, maybe he's a good option, but no.
Preemptive tank. That's quite the way to go into a season, but yeah. So Arun, we appreciate it, and we'll have you on next week for episode 200.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
All right, Arun, take it easy, man.
All right, awesome. Sounds good. Well, episode 199 in the books, 1 to go. We're still the World Series champions, at least today, even if next week we don't know if we will be anymore. Shout outs to the District of Champions, Washington Capitals, Mystics, and Nationals. Over the last 2 seasons before this one, we've had champions. I was hoping we'd add another one to that book. It doesn't look like the Washington football team will be able to be that team. But, who knows what the future will bring. Season 5 will be a long one. And maybe the Capitals come back and make some moves or something happens. But I recommend people go to the District Champions merch, represent them while they're still champions. At the pillow, you got the wall tapestry behind CP3 there. I've got a piece of merch that's coming that I don't even know if CP3 knows that I bought off our own website. So that should be coming soon. It says delivery soon, so I'll be repping that coming soon. New piece of merchandise that I'll be pushing on that, so that'll be cool. Check out CP3's rocking the special edition Sports on the Hill merch. Where can they find that?
You can email me, inbox me. I still have some inventory left. I haven't really been pushing it lately because I've been pushing the car dealership. Like I always tell y'all, if you're looking for a new ride, use pre-owned certified. You see it on my feed. Come holler at me down at Honda Waldorf. You got great deals, great customer service, and I take care of you. You know I will. But yeah, you can always hit me up, inbox me, email me. If you got my number, text me, call me. Nice shirts, great quality with our partner Eric Kusa. Shout out to my man inside, always sharing the show, always showing love. Might as well say he's a partial sponsor of the show. So got to give a shout out to my folks. Be on the lookout. We got a commercial that we shot a couple of weeks ago. Got some finishing touches to do, but be on the lookout. We got a lot of things in the works. Sports OTHP, as always, bringing you the best DC sports coverage around. Be on the lookout for the 24th Renegades video dropping that I actually made my acting debut. Money Convo. He's got over 30,000 streams of that. Go check it out. I'm streaming on all platforms. The video will be dropped on the 24th. So be on the lookout for that. I'm working on some other things, car-related videos. So you might see some videos of some Honda vehicles popping up on your timeline to get you to come in and, cop that new Vibe from your brother. I need that
And then
commission
at
check.
the bar radio you do on Sundays, and that, I think the theme song to that is that song that you.
Yeah, that's
you did
Money
the video
Combo.
for.
Yep, that's Money Combo. Yeah, at the bar radio. We had another great episode last night. You can go check it out on my YouTube channel, or at the bar podcast on YouTube channel, or at the bar radio on YouTube. I mean Facebook. My bad. And
Yeah,
IG.
yeah.
So
Yep, for sure. And there's, if anyone missed any of last week's or that awesome interview with the Flea, Walter Roberts, I highly encourage, or even, Julie Donaldson, or any of our previous shows, sportsothp.com. Got the videos, got the podcast link. You can find us on all platforms, iHeartRadio. We're over on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, a ton of other ones. So I highly suggest you guys go and check us out if you want to hear the audio version. I'll clip this one up just after the show. It should be up there by morning. We also clip up this show, put it up on our podcast page. We really appreciate people sharing and liking the hockey videos that we did. No hockey talk tonight, but we look forward to bringing hockey talk and basketball talk when those come back in towards the end of season 5. Looking like at the end of December or January. But right now, 21-0 with about a minute left in the first half here in the Cowboys game. But them being down 21-0, that is. And we hope that you enjoyed the podcast. Next week, we'll have episode 200, maybe a countdown, maybe some other cool surprises. Definitely stay tuned. We've got a lot coming up. And Carol, I'll let you send us away.
as always, appreciate all the love and support. Appreciate y'all checking us out. Appreciate y'all checking us out on the podcasting platforms. Also, I was checking some of the numbers on there. We've been getting some decent play on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. We actually have some female listeners now. We're starting to diversify our listener group. We're now 6% females are streaming our podcast, Robbie. So we're starting to finally crack into the female demographic. It's finally working. Yes.
There you go. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
But we appreciate it as always. Appreciate y'all checking us out. Stay tuned. We might have some more scheduling changes once football is the only sport going. Stay tuned for that. What else? What else is going on? So much going on. That's pretty much it for the show. CP3 live from the lab. Robbie G live from the man cave. DC Sports about the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. And we out. See you next week.